To Washington now, and after a long night of heavy sparring in the U.S. Senate, lawmakers have finalized a framework for the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump. The day came to a close after some 13 hours of debate and individual votes on the proposed amendments to the impeachment procedure. With control of the Senate, Republican lawmakers were able to approve most of the trial rules largely on their own terms, rejecting Democrats' demands for more witnesses in the trial. Now, during the debate, Republican Senator leader Mitch McConnell suggested that many of the votes on the amendments could be avoided considering the predictable outcome.
I would ask consent to ask the Democratic leader, since there's a certain similarity to all these amendments, whether he might be willing to enter into a consent agreement to stack these votes.
The bottom line is very simple. As has been clear to every senator and the country, we believe witnesses and documents are extremely important, and a compelling case has been made for them. We will have votes on all of those.
So two very divergent views there for me. Let me now draw in Robert Gutsche from Lancaster University. He specializes in U.S. politics. And Mr. Gutsche, tempers flared in the Senate, and ultimately Trump's Republicans solidly rejected pretty much all the demands of the Democrats. Does this work for or against Trump?
Well, you know, Donald Trump is going to find himself a winner in almost any situation he's in simply by being in it. The Republicans, though, have positioned themselves now as this trial becoming some sort of retribution against Democrats in the House for impeaching Trump in the first place. And so the Democrats, what they have to do, if they do want to have witnesses or evidence, if that's even possible in the future with future motions, is they have to make their arguments so strong and so clear that they pull over Republicans from the other side of the aisle who say, I want to hear more too. But of course, those Republicans would have to do so only if they get the approval from senior leadership, and that might be really hard for them to do.
So the outcome of the trial, as of now, seems predictable, with everyone expected to vote along party lines. Do you think these proceedings will have wider implications for the democratic process in the U.S.?
Well, we have to remember the impeachment of Bill Clinton process was just as equally divided. What we have here differently is the heated amount, the amount of heated discourse that's going on the Senate floor. That's replicating the same sort of discourse that's happening out on the streets of the United States. It's very tense. There's name calling. There's uncivil interactions, almost going back to when Congress was first formed, where people were actually outright violent on the floor. I hope we don't see that here, but we sure see that in the language that's going on. So that is going to be one of the missteps of democracy here for the United States. The second is, if it does go along party lines, as we all suspect, and Donald Trump is acquitted, it asks the question of, well, then what virtue the impeachment process to begin with? If the House is controlled by one party, says one thing, and then it goes to the Senate, controlled by another, and they say, forget about it. What does that mean for watchdogging those people who are in the Oval Office?
And what do you think about the voters in America? How will they be viewing these proceedings in a very polarized atmosphere?
You know, social media is not helping us here at all. This is where we're seeing a lot of the anger and a lot of the resentment, or a lot of the fear and a lot of the concern that is just being bounced around on social media, and then in between people at Walmart, in between people in their own neighborhoods and in their own families. So the discourse that's going on here is really going to tear voters away from each other, instead of within their parties coming together and finding ways to either re-elect Trump without some sort of visceral response from the left, or defeat Trump with some sort of unity on the other side. And so what we have to see here is, can the tone, the tenor of this be diminished a bit, so that it's not so much about hot heads, but it is about the evidence of what may or may not have happened.
Robert Gutsche, Senior Lecturer at the University of Lancaster, thank you very much for your thoughts.
Thank you.